Linux Out Loud is firing up our mics, connecting those headphones as we prepare to get rowdy. I'm Wendy, and I'm joined by my fellow co-hosts, Nate and Bill, on this special live show. We are friends sitting around a virtual table, talking Linux, open source tech, gaming, and definitely a bunch of robotics this episode, plus everything in between. We keep the banter friendly, the conversation somewhat on topic, and we have fun doing it. This week, we're spouting off about what we've got going on in our world. Let's get into episode 108. So Nate, on Saturday, while going around and doing my grocery shopping, I was catching some glimpses of the Utah Regional for FRC, which is First Robotics Challenge, right? Competition. First Robotics Competition.
Yep.
Yes. So I was catching some of those. There were a few Idaho teams there, and I was like, oh, that's fun. And then Sunday, you shot me a message, and you're like, we've dropped down to whatever, and I really like this team. And I'm like, oh, bummer. If I would have known that you were on yesterday, I would have watched you guys instead. You're like, oh, no. No, we're running our robot now. So I actually did get to see one of your robot runs, which was pretty awesome. And it sounds like you've caught the bug. You're hooked. You're in.
Yeah, so... I'd like to blame you, but actually I have to blame my son.
I'll take it.
So I'll blame both of you. You're both at fault. So what happened? So to go back in time just a little bit, we talked about this before on Linux Out Loud, but my son got involved in FTC. He's in the 8th grade. He really enjoyed it. Like it was the first time in a very long time I saw some passion and excitement in him, like I hadn't seen in a long time for something, like real focus. Because like the early teenage years are just awkward. I remember being awkward.
They are.
And then for me, I got into programming when I was about that age, and that was kind of my focus and passion at the time. Back in 1990, something. Anyway, so my son, he got the programming bug. He wants to be. He's really set on learning Java, so he did get he got some Java books for Christmas, so we're going to make it a point to learn Java. So now he's in the 8th grade, and he was because of the number of students that were a part of this RV gearheads. I think it's 7418. I think it was, or 7814. See, I can't remember now. Anyway, let me check the.
So are you talking about the FTC team or the FRC team?
The FRC team now. So I'm advancing forward now to today, and I have to look now because it's driving me nuts. I should have brought the little pin. I got the little pin. I know
it was 70. It's definitely 74 something because I asked you what your team number was again. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Anyway. So the high school, they didn't have they're kind of small or short on their attendance, essentially. 7814. There we go. We're short on their they didn't have enough people, so some middle schoolers came up to join the high school team. And so for instance, somebody's been in school with since he's been 4, so they both did it. And he had a great time. Like he absolutely enjoyed it. He's really into it. I will say the FRC competitions are a lot more intense than the FTC. I mean, as far as like the bumping and defending and everything else that goes on.
Yes, that was one thing that I noticed. Like, yes, we have a little bit of that in FTC. You can play a little bit of deep defense, but it's definitely much more pronounced with FRC. We have some friends in Utah that when we were there last time in Park City, they played pretty rough defense with us, but we build a solid robot. Both teams are really good friends. So like there was no like hurt feelings as far as like, let's play a little rougher, get some defense in. But I noticed that is part of the game strategy for FRC way more than it is in FTC. Way more.
So what was entertaining about it is the between matches, it was a little bit like watching like MMA or boxing, like how like between the rounds, like they glue together and he cuts in them on the fighters. They put Vaseline on their eyebrows. So like between matches, they're duct taping stuff and zip tying things back together that got jostled or whatever, and hardening things that need to be hardened. I mean, and got other teams that they pulled out drills and other things. Anyway, so it was kind of fun in that regard because you're kind of on a time crunch, so the builders are real busy. I did get to contribute a little bit to because I was real busy. I've been really busy with work this entire last 3 months, so I didn't get to help very much, almost nothing really. But I did help to improve the driver station a little bit since I have some monitors. I took one of my monitors, my portable monitors, not for I'm actively using, but another one that I just kind of started the whole mess with, and built like a little bracket so they could put it on the driver station so they could use for like the cameras or whatever. And then they had other problems with like the computer they were using, all of a sudden just like bogged down. And anyway, that affected a couple of their matches. But anyway, that being said, I think we ended up at like 20 or 21, something like that. I think it was 20. And we didn't make it to the next level of qualification, but we had lots of fun. And I honestly got into it way more than I thought I was going to. I mean, I'm not a big sports ball person. Like I don't get into sports, but this is kind of a sport that I guess, I mean, it's a sport basically that was very entertaining. Watching, like our robot took some pretty good hits. Last week, our robot got hit with this cage thing that that's in the center that kind of divides the field. Wiped out half the robot last week. So that was fun. And so anyway, it just took a hit. So anyway, lots of fun. And so like, I guess I didn't really like fully understand FRC. Like I kind of watched the videos and I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. But like actually being there and experiencing the process of, seeing the kids, I watched them design and build it, with the mentors, program it, go through all the issues with the program, and then so it's like certain kid preferences for how they want to control it, discovering how that's probably not the best way to control things, that maybe we need to adjust that for the future. And so
like it was using one of the wheel and trigger
so actually
controls.
What I was thinking is like the centipede wheel thing, could do something like that. Remember the old centipede arcade game?
Wow.
No, but so there's some like driver stations. They had like two flight stick looking things. In fact, I had one for when I played Descent. These like Logitech flight sticks, and some actually had like control interfaces with it. I mean, for lack of a better term, it's either like machine controls or you could say arcade type style buttons, and had like presets of different things that it would do. And so I thought. So I found the whole thing very inspiring, and like it really, I did my best to stay focused on what was going on and not be distracted by work and whatnot. So like if it wasn't urgent, I didn't, do it. But although I did, there was a couple of things that happened. But anyway, that aside, I got the robotics bug. That's what I'm getting down to. So one of the mentors.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks. After FTC gave my son a controller, so it's the FTC style controller, the Android version. So we already have that. And so my son really wants to build an FTC robot since we already have the controller, we already got a lot of the stuff already. So we're looking at like BattleBots and some others out there for like buying parts and putting together. He wants to like build it out of whatever materials we have. And I'm like, the point of this is not to build, although I agree with that we probably should do that. I want to get to the point where we can get right to programming as quickly as possible. You've only got a few months before we have to get back into the swing of this thing ultimately. And so I want you to get good at writing and deploying code. So you can do that still with Java on the FTC robot. So we're going to kind of go try and make that transition from block programming to Java programming on it. And let's like really, really push that. So we're going to do that. The mission is to learn Java. I think I decided I'm just going to go ahead and bite the bullet and just learn it along with him. So I can, I've done lots of programming in different languages. So it should just be an implementation detail. I mean, I'm sure that's I'm way off on saying that, but whatever. But ultimately I want to build an FTC robot, like using like an either Raspberry Pi or BeagleBone, use the, what was that software called now? The WPI lib.
Yeah, I think so, because my younger son was wanting to build a bot, and my younger daughter is also wanting to do the programming side of things. So we have a senior this year that's getting ready to graduate, and he's doing a lot of the especially autonomous programming for our FTC robot, when we can't be there. So it's really hard for her to learn directly from him. So that's pretty much what she's spending the off season doing. And for those of you that aren't in this world of FIRST Robotics, Lego League gets their game at the beginning of August. First Tech Challenge, or FTC, gets their game the beginning of December. And then FRC, or First Robotics Competition, gets their game the beginning of January. So that's kind of how the games are staggered out. Of course, the Lego League robot is the smallest. It has to be built completely out of Lego parts. You can't use like Lego-like parts that are from another company. Those are out of the rules. With FTC, you have to use this for like your electronics and stuff, where they're very limited on the controllers that they can use. You only have one hub that's controlling that system because they got rid of the phones, and some other things for competitions. Like it's really narrowed down. There's a lot of things that you're really building it because there's a lot less that you can buy off the shelf. And then FRC has a much wider range of parts that they can have. So that's why you've noticed some differences as far as what those driver stations can look like, because they get so much more leeway in the parts that they can use on the robot and all of that stuff. So those different levels.
And I like the limitations they still put on things, though. Like, so you can only have one battery. You can only have a certain number of like driver motors for things. So they put these limitations on it to still provide a challenge that, you know, teams that have a lot more money can't do it. So like the team I'm a part of is part of a school district that's kind of in the poverty zone. So they don't have a lot of sponsorships. So if nothing else, cubicalnate.com is going to sponsor and get their logo on it next year. I know the Cubicle Nate dude. I'm also going to talk to my employer as well and see if I can get them to sponsor it as well. I think I'll probably get that to happen.
Let me know, because I will try to contact my employers and see if I can get them to help sponsor you. They were kind enough to help sponsor part of Wendy's trip for her team to go out. So just let me know, and I can see what I can do to make that happen. I appreciate that.
You're the best, Bill. I like it.
That's what I've told him multiple times this week when he donated, and then his work donated, because we've got those trips coming up. But the donations make all the difference as far as being able to keep these teams up and running, to have these kids being able to buy the parts they need and to travel. It's FRC is incredibly expensive, especially when you compare it to FLL or FTC. Like, it's incredibly expensive to run those teams, though they can be much larger.
There's a couple, like, you know, special machine automation type places in the area that do sponsor like a lot of the teams. And I don't think they officially sponsored the one I'm in, although one of the engineers actually helps on this team. And he's also an old Army buddy of mine, known for years. So that was cool too. Like, I didn't know he was, when I'm like, oh, Paul,
hey,
how you doing? I mean, if his name is Paul, maybe. Anyway,
maybe not.
Maybe not. Maybe it's something else. So it could be Bill. I don't know. Bill, Paul. Maybe. Anyway, anyway, so I guess that being said, I want to build an FTC robot based on the Raspberry Pi, or use the BeagleBone as a brain for it, and then I will use that just to play around with so I can understand it. And I was thinking, you know, it would be kind of handy if I could have, because using the vision system, and they have all this stuff is pretty well documented, you know, as far as like how to utilize and whatnot. I know they scan for these things called April tags, but I think what would be handy to do is if I could have it, I don't know, maybe scan for me and follow me around. That would be the cat's pajamas cool. Right there.
Yeah.
So that would be. I was thinking about that. You know, it might be fun to have like an assistant. You know, like, or even, have you seen the OpenSaint project?
No, I haven't.
OpenSaint is basically, if you've ever seen Short Circuit, the movie from the 1980s, this is an open source reimplementation of that robot, so you can build one for yourself.
Yes.
That's really cool. Okay, that's neat. I'm impressed.
So you can download the CAD for it and everything. Anyway, so my thought was, you know, I could use something like that in the processing plant to follow me around when I need something, like something to carry something for me, rather than me carry everything and put it like in pockets and go around like a weirdo.
Yeah,
that would be really handy. Or like even just like hold this box of Cat 5, you know, and then it would freak everybody out. Everyone would be really uncomfortable with it, and I would love it.
Especially if you had a couple of GPUs in there that you were running some AI LLMs on, and it could actually converse with you in normal language, then you would really start to, especially as it started to talk to colleagues and pick up their nuances. Then now we're getting into some next level, especially on that like short circuit robot frame, because nobody would see it coming. That's like the epitome of a sleeper build right there.
Yeah, it would be fun. And then do the different mannerisms. That would be
yes.
You know, you could probably mimic the voice too. There's that's a capability that's out there. But anyway, I just thought that was really cool. The OpenSaint thing, that was actually one of the FRC mentors showed that to me. My army buddy, who I didn't say his name was Paul, and I like since that I'm thinking like, you know, how fun would that be just to have a that? But I don't know, a lot of technical liability there. I'm not sure what I'll do there.
Could be fun. Could be a lot of fun.
Could be a lot of fun.
But don't get too carried away with Java. I mean, you are going to have to learn it because we're going to need it for the next several years. But I know coming up that First is planning on switching over that main controller board, I think 2026 or 2027, to a Raspberry Pi and changing up the language that they are using. So be on the lookout for our kids. Sure. Are young enough, because my daughter that's wanting to code, she's 12 going on 13. I think your son's close to that age level. Like they have quite a few years to grow up inside of robotics. So they're going to need that over the next few years. I know Michael's in the chat. He's saying Java's gross. I agree with you. But that is what we have to run our robots with. That's what they're making us code our robots with. So you'll learn Java, I guess, when you have to, right?
So the only thing that now, Michael's attribution to gross, I would not put toward Java as much as one thing I just don't like about the whole FRC thing. This is the only one gripe I have. The driver station has to use their current version. There are open source implementations of the same driver station that will run on any platform, but they want you to run the official one, and that only runs on Windows 11 coming up here this year.
That sucks.
So yep. So there's no way to get around that at this point. I've done some digging already, and it looks like it's theoretically possible, but the stability of it might be an encumberment, and I'm not going to
sketchy, yeah.
Yes, but for my purposes here, the open source driver station has all the functions and features and capabilities so far as I understand, and so you can in the testing environment you can use that, and then just for the official driver station will have to run.
So if you are wanting open source robot stuff, the one that I've been using for the Lego League team now for a few years is Pybricks. So that is an open source project. It's absolutely amazing. If you haven't checked it out yet, do. We're using it on the latest version of the Spike Prime, but they have it for the EV3s and some other stuff, even some like trains that Lego has out there. They actually have firmware for those different hubs and such. It's a fantastic project. Yes. So our kids, this is where things become a little bit difficult because our kids start out learning Python. We don't have them using the drag and drop blocks, even though Pybricks now does have that available. You do need to donate in order to be able to use that feature, but it's a great way to keep the program alive. I 100% support that. Even if you're just doing it like $5 a month, you can have that feature. They also have lifetime features if you want that too. But we have our kids start out with just the written form, even our younger kids. So our youngest kids were 10 this year for that team. In judging room, they said that even though it took just a little bit longer to learn and get the context of the written, they preferred that over the block code. Because to me, it's just so much more straightforward, right? For me, every time I've used the block, it's like, I know what I want to do. And now I have to figure out which block makes that happen. Whereas with the written code, it's just so much easier to work that out in my mind. So Java's a little bit more difficult because there's a lot more punctuation, which is a bit annoying. And it would be really nice if our kids could go from Python in FLL to Python in FTC or FRC. Wherever they go, you can start FTC at 12 and you can start FRC at 14. It just kind of depends on what's available in your area. If you're like Nate's son, you have the option of both. So those are kind of the age ranges as where they start. But I wish it was a little more consistent. Right. It's great that they're learning a different language, but I don't see Python being, or not Python, but Java being a language that you're going to continue to use specifically for robotics. It's used for a lot of things. It's just weird that that's the language that they've chose to use in controlling a robot.
Especially since if you get into automation, you're going to be using ladder logic, not even any of that, like nothing you're learning in FRC, FTC, or Lego League has ladder logic, but that's how you program giant equipment. So,
Right.
But I think if you understand the concepts, no matter the language, you should be fine no matter what. It's understand the concepts and logical breakdown.
Java's taught frequently in the first year of university or in high schools as a means of, like, we'll call it computer science 050. And it's a language that's taught because of what it teaches in terms of programmatic functions and commenting your code and structuring your code. It's really meant to be more, in my opinion, as a conceptual course to give you good fundamentals that then help you if you want to do Rust or Go or something else down the road.
And that makes sense as long as you're actually commenting. That sometimes becomes an issue for the older team, but we're pretty like consistent with our younger team of, hey, have you documented your changes? Have you labeled like this is this mission? So if somebody comes back and looks at it and needs to make a change, they can see what it was before and make sure they're adjusting the proper turn. Because if you're adjusting the wrong turn, it helps nobody.
Yep.
And on the professional side of the robotics, I have on a couple of occasions connected with our friend Neil in the community, who has a robot competition league right down the road from him. And I have gotten to see robots that shoot flames, not take robots apart, like knock a wheel off or knock an arm off, but I'm talking about melting them.
Wow, that's way different than what we're doing in first. So this is like a BattleBots style kind of competition. Okay,
and
is he participating or just watching?
I only go to watch, but it's really neat to see these teams, and I mean professional teams of individuals in that repair shop upstairs scrambling to try to get their robot repaired so that it's able to go to the next round. And it's loud, it's raucous, it's boisterous. If you sit real close to the arenas, they want you to wear earplugs because of the noise that's generated by the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like crowds, so I pay the money to go sit in the VIP seats and stuff myself with snacks and beverages and hang out with Neil for most of the afternoon.
So, Wendy, speaking of broken, how's your 3D printer?
It's not working. And it's not working, and I don't understand why. So if we're going along the lines of robotics, there was a part we needed printed for the robot. I haven't run my printer in like a month. Shouldn't be that big of a deal. It was working last time I used it. I turned it on, so turned on the main power. I turned on power to the Raspberry Pi 4. Yeah, 4 is what the server is currently running on. Powered them both on, and I went to load the web interface to get into it and send the file to the printer, and nothing. There is no connection. I can SSH into it. That's fine. That's there. Once I'm SSH'd into the Clipper server, I can do a check and make sure that the USB serial device is still there. Yep, it is reading the board. So those connections are fine. I have no idea why it can't find my printer. No clue. Because everything else works. I even updated it when I was SSH'd into it. And still nothing.
Can you manually use your printer without Clipper? Like an SD card, sort of.
No, not the way that
style?
not the way that I currently have it set up, because I've taken the
Caveman
I've
style.
taken the original printer. Yes. So I've taken the original printer. I've gutted it. I've replaced it with all kinds of other parts. And so because I don't have a monitor on it either, like there is no way to access the printer if I'm not using that main cell web interface to it. And for some reason, even though I'm using the IP address that is supposed to be for that Clipper instance, it's telling me it's not there. So I have already been wanting to put a touchscreen on there because you can use Clipper Screen, which is a touchscreen interface for it, which would help manage the printer manually, which is nice because there's a lot of the times I'm doing stuff, I shut down the computer and was like, oh crap, I needed to shut down the printer, right? And so that I've got to like either try to do it from my phone, which is a pain, even though the web interface is still great from a mobile device. It's just so much better to do from an actual computer. So then I have to do it on my phone or whatnot. So having that additional interface would be handy, but I have no idea why this has been an issue. And I haven't had time to try and fix it since it's been down. It was like, oh, yep, it's broken. I sent a message to the team. It's broken. I've got stuff to do. I can't like spend all day trying to work this out, and had somebody else was able to print that part because it was relatively small. But I'm having a printer network issue out of nowhere because it worked fine. It worked fine a month ago, but now.
Okay. So idea for you, Wendy.
Okay.
Does your printer support any kind of serial output?
Yes. So it is a serial output from the main board of the printer to that Raspberry Pi. And when I SSH into it, I can check that that serial port is still connected. It shows me, yep, that it's reading it. I checked my printer config file and the right serial port is listed in the printer config. It should be able to communicate between the two, and it's not.
So you need to check baud,
BOD?
stop bit, and parity bit. 8. It's usually 115, 200, 8N1. I forget the other one, but if I see it, I know that. And I'm wondering, does it make sense if you got a serial to USB adapter and plugged that into your machine or your laptop directly, so that if you were to run tail varlog printer, and then it can tell you maybe what's happening on the internals of the printer to see if maybe there's some sort of issue with firmware. Maybe the firmware for the printer isn't loading up in the printer itself. Mm-hmm. But at least you could see as if the printer had a screen on it. And you can, if one end is serial and one end is USB, you can plug that into your workstation. I use those frequently when I'm interfacing with network switches, firewalls, and other appliances at my work. So I'm quite used to having to do that. And it literally will just show you the whole boot sequence, just as if you sat in front of it, pushed the power button, and then watched it on a monitor. It's the same function. So maybe you might want to give that a try.
Yeah,
if you're not getting what you want out of the Pi.
Yeah, because like I said, when I SSH into it, everything looks fine. So that's a really good option to try and do some problem solving to get that done. Not sure when. I'm booked from here till like next Tuesday, but I'll think about it. It has me wanting to just forget about it and like buy another one because we need stuff printed and then figure it out. But then I'm like, holy crap, that's a lot of money to just like buy another one. So I'm torn between the two. But heck, maybe I'll just pack it up and take it with me when we see you in June, because that's right, we're not going to California. Surprise! Our FLL team didn't have a ticket to California, even though that's what we thought for well over a month. No, we have a ticket to Massachusetts, so I won't be too far away from Bill. I'm super excited to get to meet him in person come June. So maybe I'll just pack it up. I'll bring it with me. That'll be my my carry-on. Yeah, I'll just bring my printer and be like, hey, Bill.
If you are worried about...
It's a good idea.
If you are worried about the safety of the printer during the carry-on, like if they won't let you, message me. You might be able to ship it to me, and then I could bring it up there when you arrive.
Heck, sounds good, because I don't know, we might be shipping some other stuff to you just so we can figure out how to get it
That's
Fair.
fine. I have a truck. That's easy enough.
Perfect.
I might even bring a dog.
I wouldn't expect any less coming from you.
Even have
right?
one of my dog rescue sweatshirts on.
Awesome. You got to talk some server stuff the last few times you've been able to be on the show, and you've been quite a regular recently. So you've got some server updates for us this week?
So thanks to our dear friend Matt in the chat, who on the last episode that I was here, he helped empty my wallet just a little bit further, shake out that last bit of change. He's notorious for this, and I thought that maybe I would be immune to such ruses, but this was not true.
No.
So I did get my minis forums. They are fully loaded. But the kicker was Matt had found these NVIDIA cards that will fit inside of them. Now, they're not the most powerful NVIDIA cards in the world. I can't even connect them to external PCIe power connectors, and that's not the point. I wanted something that I could do a little bit of my own self-hosted AI learning. Now, the cards just arrived. I just assembled the whole setup, and one of our community friends is going to help me to see if we can take 2 or more systems and distribute that AI workload across them. And NVIDIA has their own specific proprietary connector, but rather than turn on what I call the big boy server with the big boy video card in it, which generates a whole lot of heat and guzzles power, I thought maybe doing this kind of at the cluster level would be a more fun way to learn it. And then I could repurpose the machine later if I want to. But yes, I did do that. Check. The other thing that I did is I'm a big fan of trying to upcycle hardware, even some niche hardware, to make sure that it kind of stays out of the dumpster or the scrapyard. And so I discovered that out of the heap of things that I have or have been letting go of, I had a couple of NAS devices made by QNAP that had x86 chips in them. Now, most NAS units have ARM chips in them, but one had a Celeron and the other had a Ryzen in it. And I thought, okay, this means that these are just standard PCs and I can install standard things on them, like Proxmox Backup Server or TrueNAS Scale. So I took the less powerful one because it doesn't have a lot of RAM or system requirements. I installed Proxmox Backup Server on a little NVMe drive, and then I loaded it up with 4 mechanical drives, and boom, I had a Proxmox Backup Server instance for my Proxmox farm here at the house. And then I took the bigger one, the one that had the Ryzen in it, and I filled it with as much RAM as I could, and I put TrueNAS Scale on it. And the reason why I picked that is because I want to start learning how S3 bucket storage works. And for anybody that doesn't know what that is, it's basically what Amazon Web Services uses for its storage. It's a standard out there for server storage, and you can copy it, replicate it, move it, pick it up, pack it up, zip it up, throw it in the trash can, get it out of the trash can, do whatever you want with it. But I'm going to start learning how to use that for my self-hosted containerized workloads. Kind of took a back seat this past week from battling the flu, but that's going to now
never fun.
Come back. Yeah, no, the flu is not fun. And I'm learning some alternative ways to do the same things. That's a nice thing about Linux and open source, is that there's many right answers for a particular solution. Maybe Nate wants to do it with OpenSUSE. Maybe I want to do it with Fedora. And maybe Matt wants to do it in Windows. So there's lots of great choices out there.
Probably.
Sorry, Matt, you're not here to defend yourself, but I can feel your presence because I know you're in my state at the moment. So
yes, and he's in chat right now. So I'm very curious as to what censored response he's going to have, because I know what would come out, and if he was on the show, this would be a content edit. But he's not here, so I'm curious as to see what he's going to pop up in the chat with. I do have a question though, are you planning on deploying this for clients as well, or is this just something fun for you to learn?
You touch upon a very interesting point, because I now have clients that are starting to ask us as a company, who is the AI guru on your team that can tell us whether or not we can implement this successfully in our business. So one use case was a company that does outdoor landscaping. They build outdoor landscapes for people out in the western part of the state. And they said, how can we build AI agents that would help supplant our call centers for when people call in and need stuff? And I said, I don't myself know how to do that, but I should probably learn. Now, I also have a whole bunch of customers that deal with very sensitive data, or they deal with very regulated industries where cloud services aren't really the best or the safest option for them. So they want to know how to self-host this because that's a requirement, is they can't have it in the cloud for data sensitivity reasons. So part of what I'm doing is for me to learn it myself, but also maybe try to find a way to add this into our product portfolio.
Yeah, it's actually really cool. I was going to ask you before you moved to that next part, but have you looked at Rockstore as a possible NAS option?
Yes. In fact, I have a Rockstore VM running to give it a try, and I thought Rockstore is pretty neat. Tip my hat to OpenSUSE. It's built upon that, and it's rather minimal in its layout. However, I think they're called Rock apps or Rock add-ons or something like that. Those are basically your apps that you can run as Docker containers on top of Rockstore. It's built on ButterFS. You can send, receive snapshots. So that is an option that's on the table for sure.
Yeah, probably in an offline discussion with you, Bill. I know we tend to have these off, show line. I'd like to talk some other solutions here about stuff. So
yeah, I figured you and I needed to catch up at some point, and you've been busy, but I've been spinning my wheels and kind of designing things here, partially also with you in mind for when you knocked on the door and said, hey, I need a hand with something. I can say, I've already got this ready for you to go. I already baked you the casserole. All you have to do is reheat it and enjoy.
I love reheated casseroles. It's actually better the second time around. Have you noticed that? Especially like the kind that you put some kind of a breadcrumb on top that, it's like the second time you heat it up, that area gets just a little bit more, crisp. I don't know. Is this just me? Am I off in my own little world? All right, I'll stop.
No, we don't typically do like casseroles around here because I can't do the gluten, that kind of thing. But I know my husband definitely prefers, like if I've thrown a roast in the slow cooker, he prefers it the second day if we've like thrown it into something to make it one pan, whatever. Yes, I agree. Leftovers can be way better the second time around than they are the first time you make them, without
especially
a doubt.
Like if you do like a Mississippi pot roast. Have you ever made a Mississippi pot roast? It's really good.
I have no idea what that is.
It's easy to do. Look it up. The recipe's it's like 3 ingredients.
Okay.
Or 4 maybe. Essentially, it's beef, ranch, like powder, like the ranch dressing mix.
Okay.
Some pepperoncinis and lots of butter. And you basically got me at butter and meat, and then I'm in. But anyway, but that is actually better the second day and the third day than it is on the first day. The first day it's good, but like there's some strange chemistry that happens.
The flavor profile that builds
something. Yeah. And I've actually thrown in. I like throwing in extra pepperoncinis from they usually say like 6 pepperoncinis or whatever. I like to throw in a lot more. And anyway, just it's delicious, and the kids like it. Like I have no complaints anytime I make it, but I don't want to make it too often because I don't want to like kill it either. You know what I mean?
So yes, I absolutely get that. Yes. Yeah. Keep it a fun favorite for every now and then instead of all the time. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, now that the warm weather's coming back, I should be getting my grills out of their winterization mode very soon. Although one did kind of go flying down the yard when we had a surprise and freak windstorm come. That was the remnants of what went through the southern and central part of the country. And, here's to wishing everybody's well down there and for all they dealt with. But that came up and I found one of my grills not where it was supposed to be. I stumbled out to let the dogs outside in the morning and
it was
something's not right here.
Missing. See, I
my coffee cup, make sure that
ours like throughout the summer, but we've got kind of a breezeway between the house and the garage, so it's kind of a nice safe place to keep it tucked in from the wind and that kind of thing. I'll usually do a roast on there too in direct heat for a while. So Summer is great for that because then it doesn't heat up the house. But it's all something I utilize in the winter too.
I didn't have any grills flying because I put mine away. It's in the barn.
There you go.
And it will probably be another 3 months before they can come out after all the snow is melted.
Where he lives, yeah, most definitely.
Actually, it was 70 degrees Frankenstein today. I went for a 2-mile run. It was great. It was nice. Yeah, it was great. I mean,
don't say that. The blizzard's gonna hit now.
I'm sure now. But it was only a 7.5 minute mile pace. I took it easy. So.
Way faster than I can run. I don't do cardio. I've never liked cardio.
I don't do cardio either. I just run.
That's cardio.
I know, but I don't do cardio. I just run. That's what I say.
Can you upcycle cardio? Because I know Bill can upcycle hardware.
Yes. I'm going to answer this for him. The answer is yes. And this is how we're going to do this, Wendy.
Okay.
This is how we're going to accomplish it. Very simple.
Okay.
Nate, you can tie your cardio into Home Assistant.
Oh.
How would I do that?
With maybe one of those nice wearable Pine 64 watch devices. You might be able to make that work as an entity in Home Assistant and have like a health dashboard. Just not trying to fill your head with more cool ideas of ways that you can spend your time, but isn't that why I'm here?
Well, I mean, it's largely because of you and maybe some others that I went down the Home Assistant rabbit hole so hard. I spent lots of money.
Yes.
So
yes,
and you should be proud of that. And actually, no regrets. Not even a letter on that one.
Now, Nate, speaking of watching things, I understand that you are having a dilemma with how you watch your computers with your displays. I'm very curious to find out what is going on with this because you have quite a unique setup.
I do. So I have here in the lab, I just have my Commodore 64 Imposter, and I have 2 screens down here, but it's an ultra wide. Not the ultra wide, but just the ultra wide. You know, if that makes any sense. It's the one that it's about like 2 4:3 ratio type screen looking, basically. Here, and then a little one up here for when I do like my Linux Saloon, and this is where the OBS hangs out. Anyway, and this is like my lab computer. It is actually the most performant computer that I have. There's no vehicles that are that performant that in my here, and I just upgraded to the Ryzen 7 5900G, so it holds its own very well. So anyway, there should have been a Cubicle 8 article on that. I don't know what my problem is. I'm lazy, or rather, work's got me up to my eyeballs. And then as soon as I'm done doing work, I want to like not do computer things, for a while.
I get that. So, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It's not burnout. It's just variety. You can't just eat eggs all day long. You're gonna vomit. Anyway, so the issue that I have is the framework laptop 13. It is a smaller screen, but it's a really high resolution. It's a real high DPI screen. It's not 2.8. I don't have the 2.8K one. I don't know. I'm not sure what it's considered. Maybe
but
around
it's nice
2K.
And clear anyway when you're using it, right?
So it's super clear. It looks really, really good. And 2 of my monitors on the sides that flank either side of my laptop are 1080p screens. And, it's going to sound, these are first world problems here. But, 2-3 years ago when I started on this road, that was fine. Not a problem. 1080p, beautiful. But then the framework kind of messed it all up now. And I'm thinking to myself, I really want high resolution because I've learned to take advantage of the additional pixels, basically.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
And so now when I move things over to the 1080p screen, like things kind of just go a little wonky on me for just a hot second. I got things scaled so it's not too wonky, but still things just you can tell. It's very obvious that this is a 1080p screen. And again, first world problems, 640 by 480 20 years ago was amazing. It's not anymore, and neither is 1080p. So essentially what I'm going to do is I want to do a refresh for my monitors in 2025. And the reasons are twofold now, and I have a new excuse for it, which I didn't write down yet, and I'll tell you. But so my 7 display monitor is still the best display setup I've ever owned, even compared to what I have at work, this is way better. So I'm wow. Okay. Obviously, it wasn't Matt that changed the notes on me. The problem...
absolutely not. And I didn't
Bill.
do it.
No,
Yeah.
wasn't me.
So OpenSUSE is not the problem. Yes, I run OpenSUSE Tumbleweed. Works great. But what I want to do is, and I have it kind of drawn out here. And you can look at my 7-screen display setup that I have. It's on cubiclemate.com. I don't know if you want to put the link in there. Nobody cares. But anyway, so basically what I want to do is I want to get a kind of a very crude drawing of how I want it. But I'm going to take the laptop and my FlipGo monitor that I have and put it off to one side, because I'm not going to use this as my primary. But I want to have this is like a 5120 by 1440p screen here. Then underneath it, two 24.5 inch 256 by 1440p screens, and then this. Don't worry about this guy. But anyway, and then just kind of have that centered. And the idea is, after doing some calculations, basically I took some equations and I knew what took the ratio and the diagonal size, and then I got a width and a height basically. And I want to get something fairly close to that. Now I'm going to scale these things so it's not too big a deal. But so I only have a few inches off between the essentially the height of the screen from the framework to this. So it will fit on my stand, and then I think I only have to like upscale that to like 105, I think, or maybe 110. I don't know exactly what, but I have my framework scaled at 125%. Otherwise, I can't read it, and it looks really nice. So I want that same effect on those other screens. But I'm going to take it one more step further. So the framework can only push 4 screens with the Intel GPU or CPU, whatever they call it, XE graphics. And so I want to experiment with an eGPU. So I have a couple of video cards I can mess with, the 2060, and also I got an AMD card as well. But I ordered today, should be here on Friday, an eGPU with a power supply. And actually I was at work, and the maintenance manager came in as I'm looking at this, because it's around lunchtime and I'm just kind of taking a break from stuff. He goes, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm looking for a power supply." The RGB one looks a lot cooler, but it is $20 more. And he looks and says, "Get the RGB one." Yep. All right.
No.
We're going to do that.
So I have a question for you then. Is your framework AMD or Intel based?
Intel.
Okay, good, because there are very different Thunderbolt standards and speeds.
Yep. This is Thunderbolt 4.
Okay, so Thunderbolt 4 will do that fine for you. Thunderbolt 5 is obviously faster. Thunderbolt 3 may have given you a problem, and if you were on AMD, then you'd be dealing with no USB Thunderbolt. It'd be USB 4, correct.
Right. So, anyway, I don't know how well it's going to work. I think probably the way I'm not going to do I don't believe I'm going to be pushing these things really all that hard. I'm not doing massive, crazy gaming. Although it would be fun to be playing Minecraft with the kids on the ultra wide. Just saying, because you can actually adjust the you can adjust the view angles and everything else. That might be really nice. But anyway, the idea is I want a little bit more. I want more pixels, and then what is basically the base of my monitor stand right now. That is actually, here's the side. This is my justification. I wasn't going to do this for a while, but my justification was we want to enhance the driver station some more for the robotics. So I'm going to donate that to the robotics team as a better driver station. So that's really, you see, Cody knows. He says RGB adds more FPS. See, he knows.
No, it doesn't. Nobody needs Rainbow Vomit. If you like it, have it. I am curious about which power supply you picked up, though. The one I got when I built this system, which I'm a little sad to say it's been 5 years, still running great. This system does need a GPU upgrade. We got into that, I think, last week, or no, I got into that with Michael and Bit Shady at the end of Twill last Friday. So I have talked to people about this recently, but it's a Fractal Designs. I've absolutely loved this power supply. Loved it. So I was just kind of curious, since you were shopping prices, whatnot, what did you settle on?
This I have to look it up. I don't want to click away, but it's I looked through a bunch of power supplies and just kind of finding one that had good reviews that basically, and 650 watts, I think is what it is. And it ended up being like $55. Yeah, it's semi-modular. So like the main connector is not, the CPU is not, and one PCIe is not, but the rest are all modular. Now, I'm actually only going to need basically those. Actually, I don't even need the CPU one, I don't believe. And then I've never done anything with eGPU. This is one of those like exposed ones, kind of like a frame, and it'll be perfect for me. And because I don't need anything encased, which is actually kind of why I wanted the RGB thing. So I want to put that like below the monitors, and it'd just be kind of fun, I think.
So I expect pictures on cubiclenate.com here.
Yep.
Somewhat
Yep.
soon.
So there's a lot of stuff that's pending on cubiclenate.com because work has just kind of had me a little busier than I'd like. But I think things are going to settle down. We did have a flood in the parts department, and one of our computers went for a swim.
Oh, gosh, dang it!
Apparently, it's not good on the backstroke, so it's dead. But anyway, it's the way it goes. So that's back to normal. It was just a desktop. It wasn't like a laptop or anything. It wasn't a framework. Although there was a framework in that same office, it didn't take a swim.
That's good.
You consider waterproofing your computers.
Actually, what I'm considering is why are the computers on the floor? If a sprinkler head goes off,
well, yeah,
that was really
why
the problem.
Was it on the floor? That's a really good question to have. Mm-hmm.
So I've done what I can to correct all that. I've got some stuff. I'm redoing how the electronics are done in that office. I never really spent much time in there. I didn't, bad on me. I am the manager. I guess I should have done something about it sooner, but only so much time in a day. So
yes, absolutely. I'm curious to see how it looks when you're done. I'm sure Matt will have some feedback for you because he's played with them multiple times on several different systems with several different instances of Linux. So kind of curious how that runs for you.
Yeah, it should. We'll see how it goes. I've never done it before. I definitely want to experiment with the NVIDIA to see how painful that might be. And I still just sighed. I don't know if that was toward me or not, but anyway,
that's my sinuses filling back up. It's not.
So, I'll provide when this gets done. I've got 3 things ordered now. 3 things already purchased now. So I got one of the stands, power supply, and eGPU. I'm gonna experiment with that, and then I'm gonna go from there because there could be a situation where this might get abandoned. The whole this method. So I'm kind of gonna walk my way into it, see how it goes.
Gotcha. That definitely makes sense.
Yeah. So speaking of purchasing things, it sounds like Bill, you bought some coal powered panels.
This close.
Oh,
this close. So my boss is an electrical engineer by education.
Okay.
And he loves...
I'm already excited.
You and him would get along so well because he is into all things solar and DIY battery systems and energy storage and metering.
He must be my brother.
He very well may be.
From another mother that we've never met.
Probably.
We're separated in the orphanage.
We made the mistake of showing him what Home Assistant was at the office.
Oh.
And now
mistake.
Yeah, bad mistake, because he has gone nuts. And everybody in our office purchased these devices called Sense. And Sense is really neat. It's a couple of clamps that go into your mains, has an Ethernet cable out, you pop it into a breaker, and now all of a sudden it discovers all of the things that are running in your house and tells you how much power they use. So for my boss who has a summer home on the beach somewhere, he wants to know if somebody left something on, like a toaster or other appliance. But Sense can also measure solar input. So now everybody in the office is trying to compare how much solar they are generating versus how much power they are using. And we identified a problem because of the way my house faces. My panels are pretty good, but I can't exactly change the alignment of my house. I tried and my wife said no. So this next best thing is going to be, how do we add more panels to kind of non-standard places? Mm-hmm. And what he and I are devising is a solution almost portable where I can get some 7-foot by 4-foot panels, put them on a welded metal frame where I can change the angles. And yes, I'm talking to you, Magneto, and I know you can hear me.
Yeah, so he's in the chat.
Weld something up, put it on wheels, and rig it so that I can either tap into just a standard electrical outlet and have that charge, or looking at the wiring at my house, the prior homeowners decided, hey, we're going to put a box on the roof of the garage and a box on the side of the house. We're going to connect them with a massively thick cable for powering a hot tub that we never installed.
Wow.
So I went through here and traced all the lines out and figured that I could probably support just with the wiring here and maybe a little bit of circuitry and tapping on the shoulder of some friendly electricians that I do business with frequently at work to devise my own energy storage system. So thanks to you, Nate, for pushing me down the road into that. And my boss only has taken what you pushed and now is pulling me into the whole rooftop coal-powered panel thing to see how much energy I can generate, save, store, and most importantly, meter with Home Assistant.
So here is something I was thinking of doing, and this is just, I'm just gonna throw this out as an idea for you to kind of chew on and hopefully ruin your evening. But on the off the back of my house, it's just I have like a French door that goes out to basically kind of a piddly deck. Although I stained it last year, looks real nice. This apparently after a winter of shoveling on it doesn't look as nice. But anyway, that aside, still looks better than it did before when I bought it. So, with some nicks, but it still. Anyway, the point is, I was thinking of doing like a pergola, and then putting solar panels on that pergola, just lift it up just a bit, facing the south. I was thinking maybe I don't know, or leave them flat.
Because the panels you have right now aren't on the house, right? They're out on your shop Cubicle Labs area.
They're actually behind Cubicle Labs, and then I have then it runs to the house. So that's my 10 kilowatt array.
My boss are definitely related because he wants to do the same thing at our office. We have a backyard that is south facing, and he has talked about putting a solar pergola up that would then feed into our building. And what we would do is put a picnic table underneath the solar pergola so that we don't bake like potatoes out in the sun if we want to have lunch.
See? And my thought is like, it'd be great for like in the wintertime when it's not really making any electricity at all anyway, it would at least keep the snow away from the house, like by the back the door. Because as much as you might, ask the kids, to knock their feet off before they come in, they basically knock the snow off and then bring more with them. So
yes,
I have like those like rubber mats, whatever, like rubber commercial mats in the back of the house. But anyway, I just want something just to like kind of push some of the awful weather back a little bit. That's all. Nothing crazy. And we'll see how far all that
makes sense
shakes out this year. But yeah, there's a lot of things I want to do, but that's one of them. So there you go.
Well, in this journey, I've also tried to sort out, am I going to put some sort of brain that would kind of monitor and manage all of this, maybe with one of my Raspberry Pis? But then I got sidetracked. I thought, I have a bunch of Pis that have kind of sat idle since the rack they were on started to fall off the wall a couple months ago. So I took them all, put them all aside, and now while I was home under the weather, I thought, okay, I'll take you all out and figure out what's going on with you guys and revisit you, say hello, and see where we're at. And then I thought, I've got some SSDs kicking around. Let's see what I can do with Docker Swarm. Let's see what I can do with Kubernetes. Let's see what I can do with what I know. And the answer was no. The answer was the Pis are so picky with voltage and with USB things that the answer is just flat out no. I wanted to utilize my 2.5 gigabit Ethernet ports with a USB adapter, and the Pis said no. And by the end of the day, I felt like I was on an episode of The Three Stooges where I was continually getting a Pi to the face, to the face, to the face, over and over and over again. So I decided I'm going to just stick with using my Pis for device-specific things, whether I'm monitoring a UPS, if I'm going to build my own weather station, but using them for that purpose is just putting a square peg into a round hole, and there's better hardware for that kind of application that I'll get into later. But that's kind of my goal with the Raspberry Pi. If I can get this solar controller manager device built, it may be a product we could actually sell because there's no external wiring needed if it's 2 panels or less. You can plug it right into an electrical outlet.
This is just an aside, and maybe this is just me, but I found that Raspberry Pi 3 seem to be more particular about their power input, while the Pi 4 doesn't seem to have that same issue. I don't know if it's because, like, I've run many Raspberry Pi 4s. I've never had them throw up any complaints, but those Pi 3s, those are a little bit persnickety.
So let me interject there by saying that I'm running the 4 Pis off of a big USB power distribution brick.
Okay.
So I'm not using the official Raspberry Pi power charger because I didn't have enough outlets on my PDU or my power strip to be able to do that. So I thought, okay, I'll just get one of these big blocks that you can power multiple devices on, and they all power up fine. Where the problem lies is when I plug in an NVMe drive into it, it sees the drive, I can go into there, but as soon as I go to format the drive, it locks up. And if you look in the console of the Pi, it says undervoltage detected. So that was problem A. Problem B was the USB network card that I was reading or I was using with it. Works fine with the Pi, except after you reboot it. So if you reboot it, it says there's no network card. And that's because these USB network cards have power saving modes and there's rules you can put in with UDEV. And had that all worked, I would have put that into the show notes or on my Git so that everybody could see it. But alas, that didn't work. And as Joe has said in the chat, why not use a mini PC like GMK Tech? I am well aware of what those are. I could get minis for them. I could get Odroids. I could get Rajas. There's a whole bunch of them that I could get. I bought these Pis during the pandemic as a means of keeping me busy. I just thought, let's try to use what I have, and it didn't pan out. So I'll find other uses.
The last one to get Raspberry Pis at that time before the supply ran out. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. So I thought, oh, let me get these now because I'm going to be bored with nothing to do. And, nothing was further than the truth during that time of my career. But
he's actually the reason the Pis went up in price, just so you're aware.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But I still got them at a reasonable rate. But for instance, I ran Homebridge on one. I ran Home Assistant on another. I used one for tooling around, and I think I monitored a couple of Raspberry Pi. What am I trying to say? UPSs, battery backups. So you can plug those in and use a utility called NUT or APC UPSD, and it will give you power statistics or throw you an email if you're on battery power. So I'm going to kind of go back to that because that's what worked. Mm-hmm. What I actually may end up doing with one of them is trying to build my own Roku or Apple TV or whatever replacement that's all open source.
Yes. I also want to do that. I want to know what you plan on using.
That would be a good project.
I will probably get a universal IR remote and let you know how that goes. I'm also thinking since I could tie that into Home Assistant, I could have a little tablet on the wall next to me in the couch and kind of use that as a little cool media control console. But that's just me being greedy. That's just me wanting to have fun with too many things in my house. And eventually I'll be buried in a sea of hardware.
Which you'll have to swim back out of and then get rid of a bunch again. And then the cycle continues.
Well, that seems to be Matt's biggest thing. Every time he's on, he's like, I bought this. I'm getting rid of this. But I bought this to replace it.
Yeah, I have a very simple solution. I'm just going to take all the hardware I don't need, and I'm going to bring it to Matt.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
And if he's
hiding, Dark One.
486s and 56K modems, all the ISA cards, anything that my customers bring me that they want to throw away. I'm just going to, put that in the back of my truck and then go pay my friend Matt.
So next time we do the show and you see Matt in his little studio, it's going to be full of all of your leftover stuff that you don't want anymore. It'll be perfect.
It'll be the fastest edit you will have ever done because only 5 minutes of that will be actually suitable for the internet.
Beautiful.
Just one gigantic content edit. There you go.
So, Wendy, I understand that Nate and I may not be the only people that are having monitor issues. I mean, I'm not having monitor issues, but I know Nate is. I understand you are too. Talk to us about this.
I definitely am. And it's not on my desktop. Like I said pre-show, I would love to have a vertical monitor for show notes, some other things that are going on. But right now, my biggest issue comes to when I'm mobile editing. And I'm actually mobile editing a heck of a lot more this year than I thought I was going to. So come like early fall, something like that, is when I bought my laptop mobile workstation, because I knew that this year was just going to be crazier with robotics, as Nate has learned. And for our team, there's a lot of the times that we are traveling Fridays and we're not getting home until Sundays. So, we're traveling out of state for robotics competitions and the like. The show has had to get done on Thursdays, which is also a robotics day. I do have a kitchen system, and occasionally I'm stealing the monitor from there because the monitor that is at the build room is not very good. I think it's supposed to be 1080p, but the graphics on it are really, really hard to read. Text is hard to read, is what I meant. So I'm having to bring that one if I'm having any semblance of like almost what my workflow is. So I've got 4 monitors here. Usually DaVinci is across 2 of them. I'm using one to see the show notes. And then I've also got screenshots to pull, and then I'll usually have other windows pulled up so I can see some different things that are going on. But I don't have that full flexibility when I'm editing at the build room, and especially like the last several episodes of DL, I've been in a mad rush. It's got to get done that Thursday because we're leaving like super, super early Friday morning, and I've got no time to push that. And then it ends up taking longer because I make mistakes, or I don't have the same room of which I'm spreading out. Plus, I'm also in a hurry. And so I've had to redo things that I shouldn't had to do. The episode of DL that went out where they did the interview with Sandfly. They did the interview with Sandfly. So that one I had messed up because there's claps. So as part of DaVinci, I set the voice channel so they're voice only. So as things happening, sometimes mics get bumped, tables get bumped, cups get set down hard, right? It cuts all of that stuff out. But if someone claps, that also gets cut out. So I had dropped that down to the music channel. Well, I thought I dropped it down to the music channel. I didn't, because I didn't get to see everything all nice and pretty. I didn't have all of my nice track lines, though I have them on my larger screen. And so I needed to re-render. And in the process, the wrong version of that show went up for DL. Like the previous episode got uploaded for the new episode that was audio only. So I apologize for that. That was definitely my fault. But I've realized that if I'm going to continue this trend of editing away from home, I really have to get some of those portable monitors, and that's probably going to be the big editing purchase for this year. I don't know why I did this because I do actually use them for work. Maybe it's because Magneto's in the chat. I'm not admitting that I want to buy more hardware. So
I know a guy who can help with that.
Ooh, awesome. So I do need like a dedicated set, and it doesn't have to live there at the build room because it would be nice if we go travel somewhere else. We're going to be a week in Texas this year with the FTC team. We're going to be a week in Massachusetts with the FLL team. And so even though I won't be working as far as editing while I'm there, it would just be nice to have some semblance. That would probably end up needing to be my carry-on, my laptop, and all my additional little screens. I would like to keep them at least 2K. The monitor on my mobile workstation is 4K. I really like that. I like how crisp it is. I like the way that runs on these. So I've been looking at some. I've had my eye on some. I just haven't jumped in with both feet. And I've noticed that this year I'm just spending at least half my time on my desktop and half my time on my mobile workstation and getting shows and stuff out. So it's becoming a necessity that if I'm going to keep doing that, this is purchases that have to be made. And I'd love it if I could have still at least this same 4-monitor setup. So my screen is a 17.6 inch is what I believe my laptop is. It'd be nice if I could keep them the same size and maybe get one of those like protective cases that I can lay those other 3 monitors in. How that's all going to work, I'm not entirely sure, but at minimum, I need at least 2. Best would be 4. I do have a fun toy that Bill did send me. I'm not sure where it is.
It walked away.
Yeah, it walked away. It should be right here. But it is a dock station for my Dell laptop. So I can, with the use of that, be able to have that multiple monitor setup in a mobile station. No problem. I've just got to get the monitors to go with it and then decide how I'm going to safely transport those back and forth with me. What is going to be the easiest, most simple way to set them up at the end of a robotics night? What is going to be the simple and easiest way to take everything down, put it away, and come home? I don't want to tell Magneto, hey, we got done at 10, but we're leaving at 11 because it took me an hour to tear down, right?
Suggestion for you.
Yeah.
You may want to look at a Pelican case because those travel really, really well. They're durable and they can be highly customized. I believe
and can be used as self-defense in a pinch.
Very much so. You can also put children in there and ship them if you want to as well. Makes a great little like, hey, go! I'm going to put you in the box. No, you're going to go in the box. But the nice thing about the Pelican is that you can use foam inserts to adequately protect all of your equipment. They're TSA compliant, and I know for a fact that people do this with their robots at the competition league that I've visited a few times now. So everything they need for tools and equipment generally goes in 1 or 2 or 3 Pelican cases, and it's labeled and locked and everything else. So that may be an option. I think you can even probably either 3D print or get some sort of injection mold set up so that it kind of hugs your equipment safely and securely as you travel.
I know
with it.
Nate has built some custom ones for his setup, so it'd be kind of interesting to trial and error that to see what fit this, because on this system I have 1 monitor arm that's holding all 4 monitors at this point. And with the laptop situation, it won't necessarily be holding all 4, but it would be holding 3. And it would be nice in figuring out this mobile setup to be able to raise my laptop up a bit so I'm not bending down looking at the screen. It's actually more eye level, better posture, all of that good stuff. So we'll see. It's on the things to do. Regardless, we're going to have to get 1 Pelican case, but that's going to end up needing to be for the FLL Team's robot. FTC's robot gets to drive to Texas. So we have some friends in Utah that also made it to Worlds, and all of the stuff is going to get loaded up here. It's going to take a trip to Utah, pick up their robot. So we're all sharing, but that FTC robot, ours, gets to drive. I know there's been a horror story from the FTC team when Worlds was in St. Louis. And I don't remember if I told this story last week or not. They had been running late. Their flight was late. They get off the flight. They look out their window, and the robot that says fragile is literally rolling down that off belt. Kerchunk, kerchunk, kerchunk. And of course, the kids were in a panic. And thankfully, they packed it well enough that their robot was completely fine. There was no issues. It was ready to run. But had they not done a very good job, they could have showed up at Worlds with a non-working robot from one of the situations. So their robot doesn't fly at all anymore now that it's in Texas and it can take a drive. The FLL robot, not so much. That's going to have to go with us. It would be best if it is a piece of carry-on luggage, and that's probably where it's going to go, is in a Pelican case like that. So all of the little bits and pieces, they've got some attachments that go on the robot. That's not that big of a deal. They're Lego pieces that can just be tucked into somebody's bag. But if that robot breaks when we get there, not only is it going to be incredibly hard to rebuild, but anybody who's worked on like coding a robot, all it takes is one little tweak, one little adjustment, and especially for autonomous code, things no longer match up anymore. So it has to get from Idaho to Massachusetts in one piece. If it breaks on the way home, we can survive. But if it breaks on the way there won't be any robot runs in our future.
Let's talk about monitors. I have a couple of suggestions, but
okay.
Give me the dimensions of your current monitor screen, and then let me go from there.
So my laptop is a 17.6, and that's what those portable monitors, it would be nice if they were matching. They could be a little bit smaller, but it would be nice if they match the same size, just so that everything lines up nice. That's one of the things I love about this current setup is all 3 monitors across the bottom are the exact same brand. They're the exact same size. So color calibration is the same across them. Taking things from one to the other is the same. There's no funky, I'm trying to drag it across, but things don't quite line up. So it's getting stuck as I'm dragging things around.
Let me show you what,
part of the reason why the larger one
I'm going to move my camera, but I'm going to show you what I have for my laptop setup because it may be suitable for you. So this setup right here is what I use for my work PC, which is right there. So I have a dock, and these are 3 27-inch 2K monitors, and they were extremely affordable, and I have no problems with resolution, no problems with KDE plasma.
Nice.
Everything just basically works. So you might find that that particular arm doesn't work for you, or if you're space constrained, I've actually seen people stack them vertically.
Right, yeah.
Just rework their workspace like that.
Mm-hmm.
But that right there has been a lifesaver for me.
I really like that setup. That's more of a permanent setup than it would be a mobile setup. But maybe that might be the better option, since typically where I'm editing is here or the build room, that maybe it just becomes a permanent setup there for now, and then maybe a mobile setup later. I know like those portable monitors specifically could be a lot more expensive than their counterpart, just because they are a portable monitor. So that might be the better way to go at first. We have a comment in chat that asks if we could print a case. So you're talking about printing a case for the robot, printing a case for the monitors. I'm not entirely sure. For the robot, possibly that might be an option if I get my printer up and running again, which I should be able to. I just have time to do it, which would be kind of nice if it was like custom built along the robot. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, maybe that's the way to go. Maybe use the non-portable ones for now. But it would be nice if, say, we're going to my in-laws for the weekend and I could just set up shop there on the counter. I don't know. We'll see.
In our chat, in the show chat, Wendy, I put a few links in. You can take a look at those and see what you think. The last one is going to be as closely matched to your laptop screen as what you have now.
Okay. Perfect. Maybe. Haha, I found it. I just had to get to the right chat because apparently there's multiple chats when we're live. So yeah, I will definitely check these out and kind of see what they're going to say or kind of like where they're going to fit and all of that fun stuff. It is the big thing that I have planned to do. We'll see how it goes. I'll keep you guys updated. But I've told you guys, hey, I'm going to update to Fedora, change from Manjaro, and that still hasn't happened, and that's been months. So I'm trying not to get your hopes up, right? I seem to move at an incredibly snail's pace around here at the moment, but
moving like pond water.
Exactly. So now it's your turn to toss in your 2 cents on today's topics. Hit the discourse forum, drop us a line under this video, or contact us with the contact form by going to textdigital.com/contact. If you'd like to hang out with us on our preferred social media, see the links in the show description. Find other great shows like The Sudo Show. Hopefully that one will be coming back very, very soon. Destination Linux. And of course, you can catch Nate on Linux Saloon, plus more at tuxdigital.com. Show off your love for your favorite podcasts and shows by visiting the Tux Digital merch store. Grab yourself some awesome swag like the Gamer Centric. I paused my game to be here. Matt didn't this week. That's why he's not here. You're going to have to give him a hard time about that. Or you can join hashtag Team Wendy with some sinister Wendy swag.
Woohoo.
As always, we thank you for joining us. We'll be back next time with another awesome episode of Linux Out Loud. Until then, keep the banter friendly, the conversation somewhat on topic, and have fun
Never gonna happen.
doing it. This show, no, we were literally like all over the place. It was like chasing an ADHD rabbit, but it's all good.